Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studio in Cumming, Georgia, it's time for Simon Says Let's Talk Business 2.0. Now, here's your host, Gary Zermuehlen.
And welcome, everybody, to Simon Says Let's Talk Business 2.0 radio show. On this show, we talk with high-performing business professionals to sharpen our skills, learn new ideas and concepts, share best practices, and get to know really smart people. So listen carefully, take notes, and look for their contact information at the end so that you can engage with them. As always, we will conclude with the sales tip at the very end. So I'm excited. We got some really amazing guests here today. These are some of the movers and shakers here in Atlanta. They're great companies. They've offered so much to Atlanta over the many, many, many years, and they've had such an impact on so many people's lives over all of those years. So we're going to have two companies. One's going to be with Tim Turner. He is with Satisfeed, and we also have Mark McKenzie, and he's here with Docqmax. So they're going to be here with us today, and I think you are going to really learn a lot from these people and get a lot of great insights from them as well. We're going to start off today with Tim Turner, and he is with Satisfeed. And just to kind of give you a feeling of what this company is, it is a food pantry. They ultimately will build community service centers and provide wraparound services to feed their guests physically, financially, socially, emotionally, relationally, and also spiritually. It's a powerful organization, nonprofit. Before we start talking about it, Tim, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thanks, Gary. I'm a native Ohioan, and Patty and I moved to Atlanta in April the 1st, 1979. When we moved here, I-285 had 2 lanes in each direction, and it had grass in the median.
Okay, you're definitely dating yourself.
We could drive from Stone Mountain to Cumberland Mall in 20 minutes.
Wow.
You can't drive from Stone Mountain to 285 in 20 minutes anymore.
No.
So we moved to Atlanta. We had been married less than a year. And since that period of time, we have 5 adult children, 7 grands, 3 of which we are affectionately known as baby grands. Like that. And then the other 3 are teenagers. And the baby is 6 months old.
Wow, great family. You must be proud of them.
We're over the moon. And we're blessed because they all live here in Atlanta.
That is a blessing.
So we don't have to go more than 20 or 30 minutes to reach out and touch one of our grands.
But they also got to be really proud of what you're doing here in Atlanta. And let's just talk a little bit about that. Tell us, what is Satisfeed? It's a nonprofit, but what do they do?
We feed people. And we start with food because we know hunger interferes with healing. Maslow's hierarchy of needs speaks to that very issue when it comes to food, shelter, and clothing, and care. So that's what we work on. And what we have been able to do is we've been able to establish reliability and respect so our guests keep coming back. Okay. Initially, when I started, I had 2 A-frame signs sitting out in the parking lot because the sign ordinances required me to take them out and put them away every day. And people would drive by, perhaps on their lunch break, and then they would double back, come in the parking lot, park their car, walk down our 40-foot sidewalk, open the door, and say, "I'm hungry. Can you help me?" Mm-hmm. And at that moment, I knew that they had set aside their pride
Yeah, but hard to
say, I need help. That's how we started.
So how many families were you serving in the beginning? I mean, how did it?
Well, in the beginning, when we actually opened the pantry itself, and that was in September of 2018, we were serving about 42 families a month.
Okay.
And so that was 2 Saturdays a month.
Okay.
And then COVID hit, and we went from 42 families 2 times a month to 350, 400, 500 families a week.
Wow, a week.
The first Saturday after COVID, I had 19 refrigerators and freezers that I had accumulated through Facebook Marketplace. Wow. And it looked like the grasshoppers had come through and eaten everything because there wasn't a speck of food left after we served the people. And so the second week we had to close because the Atlanta Community Food Bank was in the middle. They were in the middle of moving from their original facility in downtown Atlanta to a state-of-the-art facility out by Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport. And they didn't have any food to distribute. And so we were shut down the second week, and we reopened the third week. And we have in fact, we went from, we ended up distributing 1 million pounds of food from March of 2020 to May of 21.
Wow. Where are you getting all this food? How do you?
The Atlanta Community Food Bank is my primary source.
Okay.
Then we have a food pantry co-op out in Walton County that has stepped up and said, hey, we want to help you. And we had relationship with Amazon and their Amazon Flex program, which is that's their grocery delivery program. And they had a commissary, and it had fresh, frozen, and dry. And if it was going out of date, they encouraged us to come and pick up that food.
Okay.
Or the whatever. And so that's how we were able to serve the people.
Wow. You know, you must have countless stories. Would you be willing to share one with us where you made an impact on someone's life?
Yeah, I was thinking about that as I was driving over here. The one that affected me the most was in September of the pandemic. And this car comes on the parking lot, kind of creeps on, and I'm setting up the cones, the traffic cones, to make sure the traffic goes where they're supposed to go. And so I approached her car. And as I approached the car and I peered in, there was a toddler in the back seat, in the car seat, and there was a 6-week-old swaddled, burritoed on the front seat. And in my best broken Spanish and her best broken English, I was able to understand that she was looking for food. So I directed her to the back of the property where she could line up. And then I scrambled to get to my bilingual volunteers and ask them to please approach this woman and find out what's going on. Mm-hmm. They did. And what we came to learn is that her husband had left the country when COVID hit, and left her with 5 children.
Ooh.
In an apartment in Norcross. And so what I did was I made arrangements, a collaboration with Helping Mamas out of Norcross, and they were kind enough. This is just incredible. Helping Mamas gave us diapers, wipes, formula, and a car seat and one of my volunteers went with me, and we drove over to Norcross and delivered the goods. And she was like, so my volunteer is bilingual, and so they established a relationship, and the rest is history. She comes every week, and she brings the baby. The baby's now 2.5, and she gets a big smile on her face because we were able to provide for her and allow her to meet the needs of her family.
Yeah, I think about it. Most of us probably not missed but 1 or 2 meals in our lifetime, and we don't always realize what these people are going through. That they're having to ration their foods and with their family, and sometimes they have to give it to their son or daughter and not eat themselves. It's a world that we don't always relate to, but it is going on, and it's going on for thousands of people.
Right.
Yeah. One thing I was kind of thinking about is, what's your vision for Satisfeed in maybe 5 years or maybe even 10 years?
Great question. My 5-year vision is to establish 2 community service centers that would basically bracket Peachtree Industrial Boulevard. So I would have one at the border of DeKalb and Gwinnett County, and then on the north end, I would have a facility at the Hall County, Gwinnett County border. And that would enable me to reach what the United Way of Greater Atlanta has determined to be a red area for child well-being. And they commissioned a study, which is it's a groundbreaking study to determine the viability of a child born in one of those geographic areas to get to the age of 18. And red means that it's like a 50 to 60% probability.
Really? Wow.
So that's my 5-year goal.
Okay.
And the wraparound services that I'm speaking of would be, rather than referring our guests to an attorney in Norcross or to a doctor in Stone Mountain, we would have the attorneys, the doctors, the professionals on campus. And so we would actually be guiding them to the services rather than them having to fight with, well, how am I going to get there? So that's the 5-year goal.
Great goals to have. My wife's a teacher, and she said sometimes the kids come to school, and that's one of the reasons why they come is to get food.
Right.
But the ones that aren't really struggle learning. It's very
Absolutely.
difficult. And I think we always realize that it's not just the mother and the father, it's the children that are, collateral damage to what's going on in the home front. And it's important to us that these kids can eat so that they can learn and that they can grow up, because they're our future.
Exactly.
And so I think that's something for us to remember, that we're all interconnected.
Yes,
and
we
if
are.
someone else is suffering in some form or fashion, we're suffering too.
Yep.
And you're dealing with that head on. Like you said, where it counts the most.
Right.
You first got to eat. It's the most important thing. Let's say someone wanted to volunteer to help you. Can they do that? How would they do that? How do people volunteer for you?
My website is the best place to find the information. It's Satisfeed, S as in Sam, A, T as in Tom, I, S as in Sam, F as in Frank, E, D as in David. If you type in Satisfeed in your word check, then you end up with Satisfied. But we are satisfeed.org.
Satisfeed. What type of volunteer positions do you have for people?
My primary volunteer positions are distribution day. We use between 30 and 35 volunteers from middle school to retired and everything in between. We usually need 4 to 6 bilingual because 86% of our guests are Hispanic. And then my volunteers, they come on campus at about between 8:15 and 8:30. And they then proceed to take the food that we have set up on pallets and put it into bags that's ultimately placed into the trunks of the vehicles. And we run a dual drive-through just like Chick-fil-A.
Wow.
And we end up serving between 300 and 350 families from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. every Saturday.
Every Saturday is when they would do it. I'm sure if they wanted to just write a check, they could do that too, right?
Oh, yeah. And there's a story behind that, Gary. We had a family take a banana box to Kroger and fill the banana box. Basically, shop till you drop. And I asked them to bring the receipt back to me. It turned out that it was about $75 worth of groceries, and it was about 60 pounds. That same 60 pounds of food, we would be able to acquire for about $6.40.
Oh, okay.
So I love people to make canned food donations or whatever kind of donations they want to make. But the bottom line is that a $25 canned food donation, that same $25 in cash would allow us to purchase 100 meals.
Wow, I did not know that.
So, please don't get me wrong. Food is food, and I need to distribute it.
Sure.
But the power of the dollar.
It's smarter way to do it, more efficient way to do it. You're going to reach more families if you do it. I did not know that. That's just a really good thing to know, because I've seen food drives, and we always bring our cans and stuff like that. And we'll continue to do that. But next time I probably need to include a check too, because I know it's going to go a lot further.
Right.
Yeah, that's fantastic. One more question. Economically, I mean, tell me, how does that impact what you're doing? How does that impact?
Usually, the food that we put into the trunk stretches their food budget about 10 days.
Okay.
Usually. So it reduces the chances that the adult in the family is going to have to make a decision. Do I pay the light bill, or do I go and buy groceries to feed the children? Mm-hmm. Right now, our average family size is 5. It's kind of ironic in that it's 3 adults and 2 children. But one of those adults is usually an 18, 19, or 20-year-old.
Okay.
And then you have 2 school-age children. And it just works so well for us to be able to put that food into the trunk, because we know that it's going to provide X number of meals for the next 10 days. And it's very cost effective.
I think you mentioned to me in a previous conversation, you don't just put snacks in there. I mean, what is in the food that you provide, and what are you providing them?
We hit all the food groups, from candy to protein and everything in between. And we get fresh, we get frozen, we get canned. We also get staples like oats, rice, beans and rice and beans, canned goods. So it's a cornucopia of food, and we emphasize as best we can making sure that we get enough protein into the box.
Yeah, healthy, sustaining food.
Right.
Tim, why don't you share with our listeners one more time your name, maybe your phone number,
Sure.
maybe your email. If someone just wanted to email you and talk to you, If you could share that with the guests, that would be great.
Sure. My name is Tim Turner. My best telephone number is 404-456-5448. And the best email address, the simplest email address, is tim.satisfeed@gmail.com. And my website is satisfeed.org.
Tim, it has been fantastic having you on the show today and educating us on this. And what a wonderful impact you've had on people's lives in our community. And we appreciate it, and we support you, and we just hope that that just continues for now and into the future.
Gary, this is just such a rich opportunity for me. I really, really appreciate the invitation.
I guess it was an honor having you.
Thanks.
Thanks again, Tim. We're now going to turn to Mark McKenzie with DocqMax. And now this is, I got to give you a little bit of background on them. It is a second-generation family-owned business. So I bet he's got a lot of stories, too. I mean, you're running a business with a family. That could be kind of interesting. He's been in the business of printing, amongst other things. I'm sure he'll share that with us as well today. But he is much larger than just ink and paper. So we'll learn a little bit more about that. But before we do, Mark, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I have a family, a daughter that is a special needs teacher here in Forsyth County. Oh. And I have a wife that is an attorney. She used to be a partner in a major law firm in Atlanta and is now in-house counsel with one of her larger clients. And then I have a son that has a horticulture degree from UGA, and he's up in Michigan growing, working on a farm and growing cannabis, basically. And then I have two beautiful grandchildren, and I spend as much time as I possibly can with them, even though they do live in Michigan now. I am actually going there for a week next week, so that's really Mark McKenzie. I work in a family-owned business. We've been in business since 1975. Wow. June 5th, we celebrated 47 years of not killing one another.
Congratulations to you on that. You could write a book on that, too.
Yeah, I probably could, but my brothers would argue that it's not the real story. They have a different version. So
it's been over 47 years. So what gives you some advantages against perhaps the competition by being in business that long?
Well, a lot of it is just consistency, experience, knowledge of knowing what to do and how to do it. We're always learning. You have to pivot when things change. And, a great example is with COVID hitting everyone. Everyone had to change dramatically. And we were one of those that had to change. And it's really just consistency, showing up every day. And you can't win the game if you don't play the ball game and you don't show up on the field to play. So it's showing up, I think is the advantage.
Yep, I've been graced to be able to be with you on a number of different networking situations in the past, Mark, and I'm always impressed because rarely have I ever heard you really do a sales pitch on DocqMax or anything like that. I often see you in the room introducing other people to people that they may not know. I mean, you're always unselfish or however you want to look at it, but I'm kind of curious. I mean, why do you do that?
Well, first of all, one of the advantages I have is I remember a lot of people's faces, and I have networked quite a bit over the 47 years, so I know a lot of people. And, it's about providing opportunities for my friends, clients, and prospects for them to actually create revenue opportunities or opportunities to create new relationships. And, I'm privileged to sit here at a table with someone like Tim Turner, who is out there making a difference every day in our community. And for me, having relationships like that, I want to do everything I can to support him because by supporting him, I'm supporting my other friends and my other members of my network because I'm introducing quality to quality. And there's a lot of value in that because people remember that. And when Jim gets together with somebody I introduced him to, the two of them talk about me. Whether it's good or not, they do talk about me usually. And that helps me promote my business and also my passion. And my passion is connecting others with opportunities.
Yeah, I just think that's a great philosophy is if we help the ones around us, first, then we'll be taken care of. But it's really taking care of everyone else first, making sure they're getting what they need and that they're growing. And by the way, if they are growing, that's just only going to help us, that we're all interconnected again. And you've always had such an understanding of that philosophy. And perhaps that's one of your ingredients to your secret sauce.
Well, I'd like to think so. I give a lot of credit to the nuns in parochial school. It's better to give than receive. So, they beat that into me, and I don't want to say they actually beat me, but I've had a ruler across my knuckles once or twice. But it's a great philosophy. It's all about, I have a large family. I have 6 brothers and 3 sisters, and my father used to always talk about being responsible for each other, being responsible for those that you're surrounded by, and surround yourself with quality individuals. If you want to be a quality individual, surround yourself with quality individuals. And, you want to be a millionaire, surround yourself with millionaires. You want to give back to the community, surround yourself with people that are giving back to the community. And it's, that's what it's really all about.
Tell us you've probably worked with hundreds of businesses, small and large, over the years. Tell us maybe a story where you really, with your printing or your business, was able to really help a business.
So, being in business as long as we have, we've had numerous clients and a lot of big names across the city, big corporations. And, one of the things is I have a Google review from one client. They came from California for a trade show. Their printed material did not show up at the trade show, so they had to have it printed here locally. So he came, they sent us the files over our website, and we printed them immediately for him. He showed up to pick them up, and he brought Uber over from the World Congress Center, which is downtown Atlanta, and we're about a mile away in West Midtown. And he picked up his printed material. It wasn't a lot, but one of the things is he was in a hurry, and he was outside waiting for Uber. It was about 5:30 in the afternoon, and I just went outside and said, why don't I just drive you over to the Congress Center and take your printing with you, and I'll just drop you off. And he says, well, I don't, what would you charge me for that? And I said, well, that's not something we would charge for. It's, just courtesy. And it made a difference for him. He basically got back to his booth. It was a service that is not provided, but it's the value add that you provide to every client. You find out what their real needs are, and you provide that value for them. That's what keeps those relationships coming back.
And that's why you've been around for 47 years.
Yeah,
that's what it takes to be in business and to go in that extra mile. But I like what you said, too, is also finding out, what do they value, what is important to them, and being that
right
for them, which I think is smart.
Which is correct. And, I am blessed. I work in a family-owned business. I have 3 other brothers working alongside with me. They do most of the work. I get to go out and do radio talk shows and network and everything else. But they basically do most of the production, and they are the face with a lot of my clients. And I'm blessed because they have those same values. That's what they want to do, is they want to provide the value and the service to our clients.
Yeah, they say a wise businessman, pretty much every value that you have, every decision should be based somehow in some way, maybe on the mission of the company and your values,
right?
Because they're that important. I guess this is a question I got to ask. Being around for 47 years, you probably have seen a lot of things go on in the economy. You've probably seen 9/11s and recessions and inflations and COVID, and it's probably not always rosy, is it?
being in business for yourself is never always roses. But, it's consistency, perseverance, doing what you say you're going to do and doing it. And, we have had several years where things weren't always rosy, several times, but we've also had years where we were blessed, beyond our means. And, always working hard, always trying to take care of your family. And that family means your team members, the people that basically help you produce the products that you sell to your clients. Life is always a challenge, and you got to wake up every morning and think about all the blessings you've been given and work from there. And I think that's how you go about those. I mean, even in the tough times, if you stop and realize that you do have those blessings, it makes it easier to muddle your way through the day, even if it's a bad day.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. And I think a key thing there, too, is, taking care of your own family, but also the family at work.
Right.
They need to have a good feeling, a good attitude. It's not an easy job, doing what they're doing, and being able to be in their corner as well gives you the ability to have a long future and success.
Right. Well, and I'm just going to tell you, Gary, is having mentors, friends and mentors and coaches, it's important. It's an important part of running a business, is to have that feedback. And it comes back to, like I was saying before, is surrounding yourself with quality people and listening. You don't always take their advice, but you listen to what they're telling you. And because a lot of times entrepreneurs have blinders on and they're focused on one thing, and sometimes it's the profit, sometimes it's getting the project out or the next step in your business plan. And having coaches, mentors, and other individuals give you advice when you need it, being open to listening to that advice. Like I said, I've been given a lot of advice over the years. I don't always take it, but I do regret it sometimes. But it's opening my eyes to what I'm surrounded by.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. So it sounds like you have your own coach.
Yes, I do. And I have several mentors, which really helps. That's the go-to is the people, and strategic partners. And then you have people like a Tim Turner that inspire you daily about what he's doing with making the world a better place. And at the end of the day, it's not always about what I've done in business. It's what I've done personally.
Yeah. And I think that's another point, too, is as you mentioned, there's going to be times when it's not so rosy. But even during those times, maybe there's a gift in there or an opportunity that comes from that, too. And I think we don't always see that. We only see it as being a crisis. This is a terrible thing. It's all over. I'm never going to be the same. And maybe you'll never be the same again, but maybe for a better reason. I mean, does that ever happen where something bad happened and you say, what, this is actually one of probably the greatest things that's happened?
I'm just, if I go back about 7 years ago, I ruptured my Achilles, had to have it rebuilt. Oh. Spent about a year in physical therapy and rehab. And during that time, I realized that I had severe heart issues. And, I had a major surgery on my heart. And the blessing is that I'm still around here today, and I've got to experience the life of my granddaughter, who turns 6 next Wednesday. And, had I not had that ruptured Achilles and not been exercising and realizing that I had issues with my health, I probably wouldn't be here today. And, those are the things you've got to look at. Is things might be terrible, but there's a silver lining to just about everything. Yeah. And if you stop and realize that there are opportunities to improve, are opportunities to get through those processes. And even in the business world, I mean, like I said, there's been, as an entrepreneur in 47 years, there's been some pretty rough years or pretty lean years. But, at the end of the day, just makes you stronger and a better individual.
Yeah, well, sometimes some of our greatest inventions of all time were accidents, penicillin, and you know what I mean. So, but we have to do what you said: is we got to look to see what that silver lining is. It's there. We got to look for that and concentrate on that.
I agree, and that's really, I wake up in the morning and say my prayers. Reflect on what I've accomplished and where I'm headed, and what I need to do today to make the world a better place. And it's just myself, but if everybody were to do it, we'd have a beautiful world.
Isn't that truth? Isn't that the truth? Yeah, do something great, and then like you and Tim, and then maybe someone else will pay forward as well, and then that just continues. But someone's got to start it.
Yeah,
maybe well it'd be you guys, right?
Well, and it is, and so I have a charity of choice, and it's I co-chair a golf tournament called Golf for the Kids, and the money that we raise benefits Children's Health Care of Atlanta. We actually earmarked the first $15,000 that we raised for the Canines for Kids program at Children's.
Wow, congratulations.
And, if you're ever I think it's Eggleston, if you're ever walking the halls and you run across a dog named Olaf, that's the first dog that we helped sponsor at the hospital. And we're in our 16th year. It's a great program. It's a great tournament. We have some very, very wonderful sponsors, Mellow Mushroom being one of them, Taylor English, HLB Gross Collins, and David Alexander with Trust Egrity, which is another great individual that we work with. So, like I say, I'm blessed with a lot of things, and it's all about giving back to make this world a better place.
Yeah, that's what I heard one person tell me the other day, and it really hit me between the eyes. He said, I really want to be really successful. I said, well, so you can get a bigger house or get that summer home. He goes, no. He said, well, I can give back. Right. He said, and that's when I really get the reward for all my hard work. And I thought that isn't that the real reason why we want to be successful in our business? It's not just to make more money, but to do what you two gentlemen are doing, which is to give back. And that's probably more rewarding than a second home or whatever else that you may be, or you could spend it on.
Well, and my wife would love that house on the beach. I'm not going to lie.
I'm sure.
But, at the same time, she's very active with an organization called the Drake House in Roswell. And, she serves on the board. And, we're successful in our own right. But, we tend to give back because we want to make our world a better place. We want to make a better place for our children and our children's children. And, it's called giving, and it's, giving of yourself. And that's the other part about, the opportunities in networking and connecting individuals with other quality individuals. It's the giving part, and it's giving without intent, Yeah. So that's really where I'm at.
Mark, it's been awesome to have you on the show today, and I always enjoy our conversations. I always get great insights and pearls of wisdom that made a difference in my life, and I'm glad you're able to share that with some of our listeners today. Just in case they want to perhaps reach out to you or your business, if you could please share with us your phone number, maybe even your email address if you like.
So it's Mark McKenzie. My email is mark, MARK .McKenzie, MCKENZIE @DOCQ as in quality, MAX.com. Our phone number is 404-724-9963. If you ask for Mr. McKenzie, you're bound to get either myself or one of my brothers. And our website is www.docq as in quality, MAX.com. And we'd love to hear from you.
Mark, thank you so much for being on
Thank
our
you,
show
Gary.
today.
I appreciate it very much.
Fantastic. All right, ladies and gentlemen, now we have what we call Sales 1, 2, 3 with Gary Z, where we have one of our radio listeners write in a sales question or a challenge that they are facing, and I give them some tips on how to overcome that challenge. So this one was an email that came into me the other day, and I really like this one. It was actually from John, and he says, I did a cold call the other day, and the prospect I spoke to told me he was just completely fine, and he didn't need my service at all. and thank me for calling, and that was pretty much it. What should I do when that happens? John, that's probably a response that I get more than any other when I'm cold calling. We call it the utopian response. Everything is great in my world. We're fine. We don't need you. Thanks for calling, and it's over. And before I was Sandler trained, I would say, okay, this guy doesn't need me. He's happy. And I would just move on to my next cold call on the list. But we really don't want to do that. There's a few things that we can do before that. First of all, let's figure out why they're doing this. They want us off the phone. They don't want to be sold to. So I like giving them what they want. You say, oh, geez, Charlie, it sounds like you've got everything buttoned down really well there. Congratulations to you on that. And thank you for being candid and telling me that. Knowing all this probably would make sense for me to close the file. And then Charlie would probably say, yes, please do. And now what's happened, you can almost hear him take a sigh of relief after that. He won. We're going to close the file. The sales, selling is over. So they relax a little bit at this point. And this is when we can say, great, I'll be happy to do that. I'll close that file. But before I do, I just have one question for you. And 99% of the time, John, they'll say, sure, no problem. Because remember, they don't feel like there's any more pressure at this point. And then you can have two things to do here. One is you could just simply say, Charlie, not everybody is in as good a situation as you are. And knowing that, would you know somebody else that could use our service or our product? Maybe a company, maybe a name of someone in that company. And it's possible you might get that referral. And by the way, we want those. They're a lot warmer than a cold call. So go for that. And always a default. Ask for a referral when things are going that way. Just get in the habit of that. Now, there's a second option that you can always do as well. And you could say, okay, so close the file. Great. I'll be happy to do that. One more question for you. And then you can say, knowing that nobody is perfect, knowing that no company is perfect, tell me, is there one thing that your vendor could do right now that could be better? And there's one of two things he's going to say. One is like, no, there isn't. I'm 100% happy, which he's probably kind of lying a little bit, but it's okay. We're not going to, then you could go back and go get your referral if that happens. Or they may say something here. Yeah, well, I guess there is one thing. They're just not returning my emails, for example, or my calls. And then we can say, yeah, that probably isn't a big deal, though, is it? And then you'll get your answer. Well, no, it is a big deal. Actually, it's kind of bothering me. So is that costing you business? What's going on there? And then they may tell you what's going on there. So now at this point, we know there's pain, that they're not 100% happy. And now all we got to do now is go for the appointment. Don't sell them. Go for the appointment and just simply say, gosh, knowing that typically when people tell me that, we pull out our calendars and we get an appointment. Why don't we do that? And then you got your appointment. So that's another option. But again, if you don't have the courage to do that, at least have the courage to ask for a referral. Thank you again, John, for that. We really appreciate you for asking that question, and I enjoyed answering it. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to Simon Says Let's Talk Business 2.0 today. I am your host, Gary Zermuehlen, and until next time, good selling.